What other car projects you got going on right now?
My 54 Ford pickup, and I worked on it all winter, got it running, but I've got some modifications to make to it. It needs brought into this century.
Maybe some paint?
Nope, no paint. No paint, James. It's not getting that paint job.
I'm going to keep bringing it up.
No paint.
It's too beautiful to be just a calico of rust.
It's not rust. It's 7 colors. It's a Dolly Parton car.
Okay.
Coat of many colors.
Yep. These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. The Six Ranch Podcast is brought to you by Sig Sauer. SIG is a leading provider and manufacturer of firearms, electro-optics, ammunition, air guns, and suppressors. For over 250 years, Sig Sauer Inc. has evolved and thrived by blending American ingenuity, German engineering, and Swiss precision. Today, Sig Sauer is synonymous with industry-leading quality and innovation, which has made it the brand of choice amongst the U.S. military, the global defense community, law enforcement, competitive shooters, hunters, and responsible citizens. Sig Sauer is also a premier provider of elite firearms instruction and tactical training at the Sig Sauer Academy located in New Hampshire. For more information about Sig Sauer and its complete line of products, visit sigsauer.com. Well, what kind of car are we looking at here?
We're looking at a 1947 Ford Coupe.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's got a 302 Ford engine in it, C6 transmission, 8-inch rear end, all Ford. The top is chopped 5 inches. Custom interior, custom trunk. It's got tilt, cruise, air. Drives like a new car.
Why this car?
I had a 39 Ford Coupe in high school, and couldn't find one I could afford, so I found this. The price was right. I liked the fact that it was already chopped, so I bought it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like your first car, right? That's a special place in anybody's life. But is there anything that's extra special about the 39 Ford Coupe?
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
Well, Judy and I drove in high school.
Yeah?
She drove it as much as I did.
Yeah.
So.
This is your wife, Judy?
Yeah. We were engaged in high school. And then, every time she'd borrow it and go to LeGrand, she'd bring it back and she'd curb the white walls. Her and Nancy would pull in front of the service station, jump out of the car. Judy'd run and get in Nancy's car and they'd drive off. And I'd just lower my head, shake it, go out and get the car, put it on the lift, clean the wheels. Because they were all tore up and black, the white walls. So, it was a special car, first one.
So you've cared about cars your whole life?
Yeah, 8th grade, 9th grade, we got into them.
Yeah. What other cars have you built?
41 Olds, 2-door sedan. I had 41 years. I just sold it this spring to a gentleman who was 85 years old, and he's just driving the wheels off it.
Well, that's great.
You know, and I did, years ago, I did a 56 Ford pickup with an Olds engine in it. Right now I'm working on a 54 Ford pickup with a 6-cylinder in it. So it's running and driving, but it's going to be a winter project, tear apart, do a little more to it.
Do you remember the first car you ever drove?
Ford tractor.
Ford tractor, yeah. I think the Six Ranch ended up with that same tractor as a hand-me-down.
Let's see, it might have been, the first car, I don't really remember that. I had a 50 Ford. My sister gave me one time. I thought it was paid for, and it wasn't. They repossessed it. And then
That's a bad deal.
yeah, it was a shock. What? I was supposed to be making payments, and then I had a 50 Oldsmobile 4-door sedan that really used a lot of oil, smoked real bad. It was kind of a classic, so we had a lot of fun with that one. But then I got the 39 Ford Coupe, and that was the trick car right there. That was the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is this car fast?
this one?
Yeah.
No, it's a driver. I mean, it'll run 80 miles an hour, but it's it's got real tall gears in it. I mean, it's got, it's not a hot rod. It's a cruiser.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're here at the Joseph, Oregon car show. What's this car show called? It's got some funky name. Mountain something.
Wallowa Mountain Cruise. Yeah.
Wallowa Mountain Cruise. Beautiful vehicles here. Are there any that kind of get you excited to look at besides your own?
Well, there's a great variety of cars here. All of them have their own individual allure, you might say. There's some cars you look at and people have done things to them and you wonder why. And then there's some cars that are just pretty much everything is in place and done right. And, everybody's got their own take on what they want. If they were, like we say, if they were all alike, we'd just sit at home and look at our own.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and you get ideas from the majority of cars that you really look into that you can use on your own car. The guy that says he come up with everything himself is full of crap.
Yeah. Well, my friend and mentor Tim Butler, who's a legend in the gun industry, he tells me frequently that there are no new ideas, that there's alterations of old ideas, but there's a big group in his world of really smart people that share those ideas and bounce them off of each other, so that not any one person has to possess all that knowledge. If somebody comes up with a engineering problem, they can reach out into this group of very intelligent humans and they can come up with it and go out to their own sector, whatever that is, and move forward with it. I'm sure it's the same way with cars.
Well, you take. We had a friend that just died last October, and he was an extreme car builder, and he always said same thing. The guy that says he come up with the idea is full of crap. And he said the other thing is, anytime you can steal somebody else's idea, do it, because it makes your project easier.
Sure.
And it's
efficient.
like you just said about the gun industry. You take that guy's idea, and maybe that is not exactly what you want to do, but you take a portion of that and adapt it to what you're doing, and there you are.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Now use it as a reference. And the same thing occurs in any type of creative art or industry. So where did you grow up?
Kennewick and Pasco and Findlay up until the 7th grade, and then moved to Elgin.
How did you feel about that move? 7th grade, junior high, that's kind of an awkward time in a boy's life, and moving, that's got to be a little strange.
Oh, hell, I was going to go home every weekend.
Yeah.
Then I discovered sports and girls.
Uh-huh.
And there we were.
There you were.
Yep.
In Elgin. And who was your biggest rival school at that time?
Oh, in the small school world, they were all rivals.
Yeah.
Union, Wallowa, Enterprise, Joseph. Everybody was a rival. Everybody that we played in our league was a rival.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, well, we don't care if they beat us or not because we like them. Let's go kill them.
Yeah. I think there's almost nothing more wholesome than small school rivalry, because it is like that. Like, the competition is incredibly fierce. You'll do anything to beat them, but God help anybody that steps in and insults one of your rival schools,
Oh, yes.
Right?
Outsiders.
Yeah. So, Elgin had tremendous wrestlers when I was in school and had some great rivalries for me personally. And I enjoyed that competition, but those guys were also my friends. So if somebody from Portland or something like that was to say something about Elgin, like, no way am I going to stand for that. Like, that's a fight on sight, and not like a friendly one either. But between, me and those guys in Elgin,
the competition is a different deal.
We had a super serious competition, and grew from that. So I think it's almost like a sibling relationship too.
Well, it is, and you, like I say, and you grow to appreciate the other kids in school and their talents, and you say, oh, okay, we're going to, whether it's basketball, football, or whatever, we got to contain him.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you can't.
Sure.
But that's your goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
sports and girls kept you in Oregon, kept you out of the dry shitties.
Yeah, well, I like I say, I'd been on my own batching with my dad for a long time, and I got out of school and I went in the Navy, and that was, worked for a year in Elgin at a gas station, and then went in the Navy, and that was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
So what year did you go in the Navy?
1963.
Okay.
During the Vietnam era. Got out in 67.
Pretty early in the Vietnam story as far as the public eye.
Yes.
So going in 63, what was your knowledge about Vietnam? What was the national sentiment at that time?
It's like you say, it was relatively early in the conflict. So it wasn't publicized like it was later.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the problem of people being super disrespectful as it was later on.
Right.
During the conflict.
So did you know going in that that's where you were probably headed?
Yeah, actually I tried to get in the Seabees, which is a construction battalion.
Yeah.
In the Navy.
Love me a CB. Shout out to Lyle Witherite.
And they put me in electronics, so I was on board ship, I guess the thankful part of that is I wasn't inland in Vietnam, so I didn't take a chance of taking any bullets. So
that's smart.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, it wasn't my choice.
Sure. But, bullets flying towards you, pretty overrated, I'm going to go ahead and say. So electronics on a ship. Let's get into that a little bit. What kind of ship were you on? How big was it?
Guided missile frigate, light cruiser class, 550 foot long. We were a flagship for Crew DESPAC. We did while I was on board, we did 2 tours in the Gulf of Tonkin, which was search and rescue, plane guard. We picked up 1 downed pilot.
Okay.
We got called to GQ several times for a down plane, but somebody else, on station made it there before we did. We had been called to GQ to go after a downed pilot. They said he had been recovered, so we were turning around to go back on our patrol station, and we just come around, and a guy on deck said, I have a parachute going in the water off the bow. Another guy goes, I got a plane going in the water off the fantail.
Wow.
So that F-14 or whatever it was, I don't remember, missed our ship by about 200 yards.
No kidding.
And he had run out of fuel and lost communications.
Yeah.
Lieutenant commander, 3rd time down, and he retired.
Yeah. Wow. Of course, anytime you're close to a subject matter and then you see it in a movie, you're probably going to be aggravated. But one of the things that drives me crazy in military movies, especially modern ones, people will have some type of communication failure, and they'll be like, that's impossible. How could the radio be down? It's like, they're down all the time. Like, that is the most unreliable system ever. And as soon as we add, the crypto elements into it that we do in order to keep the enemy from being able to spy on our radio frequencies, it becomes so much worse. And I imagine that in 63, 64, 65, that you guys had just a tremendous amount of problems with communication.
Well, when I went through electronics school, and the A school was a year, well, it was 48 weeks. We always called it a year. They were teaching the transition from tubes to transistors
Okay.
in 63.
What does that mean?
Well, tubes, like in your radio, your old radio,
Yep.
has vacuum tubes.
Okay.
So now we go to transistors, which is the first basic step in electronics.
Okay.
I mean, it's brand new shit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, everybody, like you said, everybody thought, how can things go wrong? Well, one of the terms I've always used, it is man-made, subject to failure, and it will.
Yeah. So when I was in Afghanistan, we were getting some of the first small drones that troops could control.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that we got were about the size of a trash can, and they had a 2-stroke engine in them. They sounded like a weed eater on its last legs. And they took all these antennas and a laptop and just a massive spaghetti pile of cords, and somebody would have to get up on top of the tank, put all this junk out, and then try and control this angry-ass drone. And the only thing that was really effective about it was that it was so loud that the Taliban was constantly aware of where it was. So if you flew over their position, they'd know it was there, and they'd go hide and you'd break contact, leave, whatever. But anytime somebody keyed up on the radio, our radio frequency would jam the signal between the tank and the drone, and it would crash. And then we'd have to go recover it, probably in a place that we didn't need to be going in the first place.
Didn't want to go.
Yeah. It's like, holy crap. So then we got home. This was crazy to me, Bill. When we got home, you could buy drones on Amazon that a 6-year-old kid could control, and it would fly 3 times as fast, 5 times as long, ran off a battery. It's like, what the hell is going on?
More reliable than the government's issue.
Totally. And those things were wildly expensive. And I remember crashing a bunch of them. And, it's just, I can't remember how much they were, but they were very, very expensive. And we crashed a pile of them. And I said to my CO, I was like, do we have like a fiscal responsibility here, like to the American people? And, his point was like, hey, we're actually spending a lot more money on other stuff. We need to do this in order to advance the technology. This is important for the future. This is an unfortunate step in the process. He didn't put it in quite that polite of terms, but that's what he was getting at.
Yeah, the government, for all of their splendor, does some strange things.
Yeah. Okay, so 550 feet long. How fast does this frigate move?
30 knots was top
30
speed.
knots. That's really fast.
Yep.
So what's its role in a fleet?
Actually, like in Vietnam, we were plane guard when they were doing flight ops.
Okay.
And there again, plane guard is an interesting term because you're behind a carrier or alongside of a carrier, and people don't understand how many planes crash on the carrier.
Sure.
Some go off, they miss the arresting cable and they go off the front. Some of them hit the fantail because they've lost power. Some of them kind of crash on deck.
Yeah.
So our deal was to try to pick up whatever we could that was survivors.
Yep.
And like I say, the only thing we ever picked up was that one pilot that went down.
It seems like that role should fall to a tender or something that was light and high speed.
Well, we weren't the only ship in the squadron out there that was moving around. I mean, there were other vessels. I mean, there was oilers, and there was.
It's a fleet, There's lots
it's a
of
fleet.
parts,
So I mean, we knew what we did, and it was, like I say, interesting things that happened. We're in the control area one time, and a pilot calls in, and he uses his call sign, and then calls for Speedbird, which was our call sign, and
Speedbird.
Speedbird.
Nice.
And was requesting permission to land.
Oh gosh.
And everybody kind of went quiet for a minute, and one of the officers or somebody said, called him back by call sign and said, we don't think that's a really good idea because you're going to run into the aftermath real quick. And he goes, what? Said, we're a guided missile frigate. He goes, oh, wrong place. And so there's a little humor,
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
People commonly talk about, landing on an aircraft carrier being difficult because of how small it is. It's a short, narrow runway. What they don't think about is that it's moving, and it's moving in multiple directions. So it's pitching, it's rolling, it's going away from you. Massive challenge for any type of a pilot to land and really stick that. And movies like Top Gun have kind of demonstrated that a little bit. Did you see the new Top Gun?
I haven't seen the new one.
Oh, it's pretty good. You ought to watch it.
Actually, we watched the old one here not too long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like we were talking, that arresting cable and that hook, very important features.
Yeah, kind of critical.
Yeah.
Kind of critical. So how many people would be on that frigate?
Oh, I'm thinking there was 400 people.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've been there, researched that, but I was thinking there was 400 people.
What was your berthing like?
We had electronics technicians and radiomen in the same berth. A metal bunk about 2.5 foot wide with 3 inches of foam.
That sounds pretty luxurious.
Well, compared to what you guys had. But as a young guy with a good back, it wasn't too bad.
So was your rack fixed, or could it move around as the boat moved?
No, it was fixed. There were 3 high, lower, middle, and upper, and the rack, of course, was your locker.
Yeah. I spent very limited time aboard a ship, but I remember that berthing for the Marines being incredibly tight. Like I about couldn't lay in there with my head straight up, otherwise my nose would hit.
Oh yeah, it's close. I mean, if you, my feet are real sensitive, and my bunk was right by the table in the compartment, and there was always some asshole running his finger down my finger, and first thing I'd do is hit my forehead, then I'd climb out. But they all learned very quickly to leave my feet alone. So, but it was what I found out was an Army cot.
Yep.
Fit in our electronics compartment.
Okay.
Our little office type deal.
Yep.
And that Army cot with a pillow and the ship roll. When you laid down, you went to sleep, and you were dead to the world.
Best sleep you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I did that as much as I could,
Yeah, I heard that from a lot of Marines, that they just wanted to go back out on a MEU again so that they could get good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. The roll of the ship, and we were in a typhoon once. We couldn't outrun it. And that ship was taking 30-degree rolls.
Wow.
Now, people think, 30 degrees, that ain't nothing. Well, I'm telling you what.
It's about half of everything.
Yeah. And there's myself and one other guy that I know of did not get seasick.
Yeah.
Now, there might have been others on the ship somewhere else, but that ship was a mess.
I bet.
It was a mess.
So, was there a generator on the ship? Like, how did it produce power?
Don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah. So what was your...
That was the electrician's deal.
Okay, so what was your role then?
I was supposed to repair the air navigational aid, which was called a TAC-AN. And that was to help pilots determine where they were at.
Okay. So that
even though we weren't a carrier.
Gotcha.
But
so this is before GPS, obviously. But it's probably before Loran.
Yeah, a little bit before Loran and all that.
So there must have been multiple ships that were transmitting so that they could triangulate?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was like you say, the technology was there, but it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, our radars and CIC were always down.
Yeah.
You know, we had this one radarman. This is a funny story. He's up working on this, what they call the SPA 50, big radar, and of course, CIC is always dark except for the radars and the instruments,
CIC
are
is
lit
like
up so you can look at the screens.
Is that like a command center?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he's down and he's in an inspection hole working on the SPA 50. Well, our Captain Stubel, a good German boy, he always run around in a sweatshirt and slippers and his khaki pants. So Spar is down working on this radar, and Captain walks up to me, standing there, hits him in the shin and hands him a flashlight, and he said, "Hold this." And everybody's kind of looking at him, and the captain grabs the flashlight, and you know how when you turn your head, the flashlight moves? Well, Captain was looking around and seeing what's going on, and Spar kept hitting him in the shin, saying, "Would you hold the damn light straight?" So about the third time, the captain said, "Spar, I can't take the shin abuse anymore." And Spar just froze. He goes, "Oh, Captain." Because up until that point, the captain hadn't said anything to him, So the whole CIC come unglued right there,
That's funny.
Yeah. Like I say, there was some humor involved, and it was good 4 years for me. It helped me a lot.
So what did you do when you got out?
Went to work setting chokers in the woods.
What does that mean? A lot of people don't know what setting chokers is.
You hook up logs that they've cut, and we were working a high lead in Washington, which means you bring it down on a cable. You hook a cable around a log, and they take it back to the landing.
Yeah. Setting chokers is all the way hard work.
And on a high lead is dangerous.
Yeah.
In fact, they dropped the haul back on me across my back, and I quit that day.
Really?
Yep. And then I went to the Dalles and went to work on road construction on I-84 and the Gorge.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What did you do on that construction crew?
I was a raker, asphalt raker.
Okay.
They...
hard work?
Yeah, good work, hot work. Asphalt comes out of the back of the paving machine about 312 degrees, and you're right at the back of the paving machine.
Yeah.
When I tried to go to work on the paving crew, I went down and talked to them. They said, "We don't need any help."
Yeah.
And I was staying with a kid that I was in the Navy with who lived in the Dalles, Oregon. And we found out Sonny Walker was the superintendent, so I found out where he lived. And I watched him for a couple of days, and I found out what time they ate supper. So, I mean, it's summertime. It's June, it's July, August. And so I found out when they ate supper, and I'd wait till they sat down to supper, and then I'd go knock on the door. So, "You need some help?" "No, I don't need any help." "Okay." So the next night I'd do it again. So he hired me. And he put me to work on a crusher where they didn't need any help. So he'd...
Just to get ready. Yeah.
So I worked all night. They had me breaking bricks out of a drum for the heater thing on the crusher or whatever, a dryer. And so the next morning, he was coming to work. And the next morning he stopped by and he said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing fine. This is bogus here. There's nothing to do here. I want to go to work."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You want to go to work?" He said, "Well, how about trying to pull a double?" So he took me out and gave me the Herman. Yeah. Well, when I went home that night at 5 o'clock, I was dead.
You're all the way tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did that for 3 years. Yeah. Moved to Pendleton. I worked the feedlot in the winter and worked road construction in the summer.
And then when did you get back into electrician stuff?
Oh, I come out of Nevada off a road job back to Pendleton, and went to California with some guys. Went down there and I worked sale yards and I worked ranches. Went to work in a sawmill pulling chain, and
There's another hard job that folks don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Pulling green chain?
Yeah, it was a planer chain.
Planer chain.
But yeah, it was an experience.
So what does that mean, pulling chain?
Well, yeah, I mean, they cut the lumber, it comes through a planer, it smooths it out, and then you pull it by grade and length and put it in units, and then Heister comes along and takes it away. But
so I know about this a little bit from days when our sawmills were working. Pulling green chain was the introductory job at the mill, and people didn't last at it a long time. Generally, although there was one guy that pulled green chain, I think, for his whole career. But basically, as soon as the lumber gets cut into its dimension, whether it's 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, 4x4, 6x6, whatever it is, you're getting lots of different dimensions off the same log because they want to maximize how much wood they can get off the log. So as it comes down, you got to grab that thing and then sort it into these different units, into these piles, so that it all ends up in the same place, and has to be stacked nice and neat. And green chain is splintery, it's heavy. Those guys had grips like monkeys.
Well, and usually on a planer chain, you dealt with one dimension, like you were planing 2x4s or you were planing 2x6s.
Sure.
It's kind of interesting. One time,
little bit less splintery.
Yeah, because it's finished. I mean, you got rotten wood, so you've got a problem. It was kind of interesting. We went to work one day and they said, we've got an order for 4x4s to go overseas. Okay. And so we have to treat those with a solution when they come out of the planer. Okay. Well, what some of us didn't realize, that solution was slick and slimy.
Yeah.
And the planer operator, Homer, I think was his name, if I remember right, was just laughing his ass off because you'd pull that thing and you'd break it over the roll, and when you went like this to grab it, it just went through your hand and ended up out there somewhere. So it took us about 3 hours to figure out how to do this.
And the mill stops for no man.
Well, Homer, like I say, I think his name was Homer, if I remember right. He understood what we were up against, and he come out and he explained a couple of things to us. And there were some old timers there that knew, but they let us new guys experience it the hard way.
Yeah.
And it was a good job.
Yeah.
And a guy I run around with and drank with a little bit said they were looking for an electrician at the cannery, and I said, well, hell, I'm not an electrician. He said, well, you're electronics. And I said, yeah, but I don't like it.
What kind of cannery?
Tomato cannery, Hunt Wesson Foods, Oakdale, California. Went down there and hired on. Then they laid me off. I come back to Oregon and went to work for U.S. Gypsum as an apprentice. That was the start of my electrical career.
Making drywall?
Fiberboard and hardboard. Yeah.
So then how long did you work as an electrician?
Well, I was in the electrical trade for 50 years.
50 years.
Yeah. I retired 2010.
Okay. Have you been enjoying retirement?
Immensely.
Yeah. Was it hard at all?
To retire?
Yeah.
Hell no.
No.
I was ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was ready. In fact, when I retired, I don't know how I had time to go to work.
Right.
Because I had so many projects.
Yeah. What other car projects you got going on right now?
My 54 Ford pickup. And I worked on it all winter, got it running, but I've got some modifications to make to it. It needs brought into this century.
Maybe some paint?
Nope. No paint. No paint, James. That's not getting that paint job.
I'm going to keep bringing it up.
No paint.
It's too beautiful to be just a calico of rust.
It's not rust. It's 7 colors. It's a Dolly Parton car.
Okay.
Coat of many colors.
Yep.
And it's going to get a Mustang 2, a power steering, and a tilt column.
What's a Mustang 2?
It's a upgraded front end with power steering.
Okay.
So that'll be my winter project.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And did the the olds that you sold, is that going to fund this next project?
Partially, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a few dollars out of it, and I hid away.
Yeah.
So it's all mad money. It's all the same pot. We try to do as much as we can with our hobbies out of our monthly income.
Yeah.
And leave our mad money alone.
Yeah.
But our mad money is also for the extra projects.
Yeah.
You know.
How did you come about the color for this Ford?
Back in the day, Ford Motor Company had a color that they called Washington Blue, which is a little duller than this, maybe a little darker. Some people say it's a little lighter, blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of wanted a similarity to the original Washington Blue, but shinier, brighter.
Yeah. This is like a starless midnight kind of color.
Yeah, it's got a little metal flake in it, you know, metallic. And, I mean, it's a good color. I almost painted the car red. I mean, an actual color off of a motorcycle, which was amazing. We almost did that.
Do you have a dream car to work on? Like if money wasn't a thing?
Oh, I'd buy me another 39 Ford Coupe.
Yeah?
Yep.
This is it?
Yep. And they're out there. I just, you know, if you could find the right one.
Yeah.
But they're expensive, you know. They're so you gotta have a pocket full of money to do them.
Sure.
You know, and when you're retired, I mean, we live good. We do what we want to do, but still, you don't have $40,000 laying around.
Yeah. It's a lot to throw into a hobby.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, you get that kind of money into them. Some people take $40,000 and go buy them a car.
Yeah.
And they should, because they can't build one.
Right.
Not that they wouldn't like to. They don't have that capability or the want to.
Yeah. So this is really good advice that you've given me before. You know, when I've come up with bad ideas for different vehicles that I want, I run all those bad ideas by you as quick as possible. And what you've told me in the past is, look, do you want to work on a car or do you want that car? Because if you want that, then just go find somebody else who did it.
And step up and buy it.
Right. And that's going to save you not just thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars over doing it yourself. But if working on the car is your thing, then go buy an old junky one that needs the work and then enjoy that process, right?
Yeah, because for most parts, you can buy a finished car cheaper than you can build one.
Sure.
I tell a story about this car here. I was in Reno in 2016. We went to the rodeo grounds, and they were leasing stalls, and they had a car like this for sale, which was a little higher end, actually, than this one. It had leather interior, a whole lot more chrome on it. It wasn't chopped, but very well done. And they had it for sale for $28,000. I've got a whole bunch more than that in this.
Right.
And like I say, you can buy one cheaper than you can build one. Most of the time the statement is, and I've made this to Judy, I think I'll just go buy me one that's done. And she looks at me and she goes, you wouldn't like the son of a bitch after you bought it.
No, you would.
You just tear it apart.
Yeah, you need to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, okay.
Are those American Racing mags?
No, they are not. They're Les Schwab's. I got them through Les Schwab. They're a Vision brand.
Vision. Okay.
They're $100 cheaper.
Yeah. They look sharp.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw them, I was down getting some tires on another rig one day, and because I had steel wheels on this with white walls and beauty rings, and I thought, well, hell. I mean, when I bought these, I think the front were 112 and the back were 120.
That's really good.
And the Americans were 180 and 190 or 200.
I like the coloration of the spokes.
Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, thanks.
You bet.
And you've told me before that one of the fun things about these shows is talking to the people that own the vehicles, and I just like that guy's got questions about your magnesium wheels. I mean, you're always going to have, well, probably you're going to have somebody who's really knowledgeable about their car and can tell you everything about it.
Oh, you know, The tail lights in this car I built. Now, I built them. Okay. Woo. You know.
They're cool. They look like an impeller, sort of.
Yeah, and 1949 and 50 Lincoln are a 3-bar and have the little center ring in them. And so I built a set of those, and then I got to looking at them, and I thought, well, you know, those are like the Lincoln, so I'll change it up a little bit. So I built me a jig, and I built these 6-bar. So, and I gave my 3 bars to a friend of mine that did that 27T, and he put them in there. But anyway, we're at Wallowa at the car show. Guy comes over, and he goes, I like your Lincoln taillights. And I said, well, thank you, but they're not Lincoln taillights. And he said, well, I know Lincoln taillights when I see them. And I said, well, a couple of things. I said, to begin with, Lincoln taillights have 3 bars.
Uh-huh.
And I said, these have 6, and I built these.
Yeah.
And he goes, I know a Lincoln taillight when I see it. And I said, I'm telling you, I built those. And he got mad and he left.
Yeah.
So about a half hour later, he come back. He said, now tell me where you found those Lincoln taillights.
Wouldn't give it up.
And I run him off.
Yeah. That's funny. No, I mean, I get in arguments like that with folks sometimes. But anymore, I just say, you know what? You're right. They're Lincoln taillights.
Yeah, sometimes.
I got them off Amazon. You caught me.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, the pinstriping I've had, oh, God. Another guy at Wallowa another year, he goes, he's got a buddy with him. He says, come here, I want to show you these decals this guy found. And Alan, my buddy, he goes, did you hear what he said? I said, yeah, forget it, Alan. And the guy is sitting there telling his buddy how expensive those decals were. And Alan said, do I go tell him? I said, leave him alone, Alan.
So these are hand-painted, right?
Yes.
Who did it?
A guy named Johnny Barra out of the Tri-Cities in Washington.
They're really cool.
Yeah, he's very good at what he does.
It reminds me of like something that a tattooer would design.
He, in fact, he did these at my shop, and he did a 31 Model A of some friends of ours in Hermiston the same day. And our friend that died had wrecked his 32 Roadster, and John come over and replaced the pinstriping on the back of it. But you can't hardly get him to do anything anymore because he went to work at Hanford in the sign shop for $70 an hour, and he's doing decal signs.
Wow. For a nuclear plant.
Yeah, for a nuclear plant.
Because, of course, a nuclear plant needs somebody who can hand draw stuff for their signs.
He's doing overlay decals for $70 an hour for signs, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure he still does his close friends, you know.
Sure.
But Mac did get him to come over and do the 32.
They're very precise.
Yeah, it's a talent.
I could see how somebody would think that they're decals if they didn't know better. To me, they look like they're done by hand, but not because there's imperfections in them.
And there is imperfections. It's not equal side to side.
Yeah.
And people have to look at that because if it was a decal, it'd be perfect.
Right. Right. Well, you've got a more exacting eye than I do.
Well, I can see a couple of dissimilar spots in them from here. I mean,
You spent a lot of time looking at the back of this car. How many shows will you do in a year?
10 to 12.
Yeah.
I think this year I'm going to get maybe 10, maybe 9.
And you drive your car to all the shows?
Yes.
That's cool.
Don't trailer it.
That's very cool.
Just trailer it if it's broke or, you know. Yeah, you can't drive them. You don't need to own them.
Yeah.
These guys that come in with their trailers and unload their cars, and you know, some of the small car shows actually discount points if you trailered your rig in.
Right.
You know.
Good. It's a car. Yeah. Let it be a car.
Let it be a car. It's like everything else. You know, it can be. You'd hate to wreck it, but it can be fixed.
Yeah.
You know, It's a little harder finding parts for these. So.
Well, finding parts for anything right now is a trick. My motorcycle's been in the shop since June, waiting on some kind of specialty KTM spark plug that's, being swam over here from Austria, evidently.
KTM?
Yeah.
Oh, Kmart Trailmaster.
Oh, hurting my feelings.
I knew I could get that done today.
Gosh.
I worked with a guy that bought him a KTM, and he was dirt biker extraordinaire. And he comes to work one day, and he goes, bought me a new motorcycle. I said, really? He said, yeah, bought me a KTM. I said, Kmart Trailmaster? Pissed him off.
If we would have talked last year, I would have defended that bike with all my honor, but I'm going to miss the entire summer of riding waiting on a spark plug from Austria. Like, give me a break. This is ridiculous.
There's a guy here a while ago looking, and he had a motorcycle T-shirt on. His ball cap had KTM on it, and I started to say something. I said, I don't know him well enough.
Yeah. How to get your car scratched in one easy step.
Yeah. So, yeah. Kmart Trailmaster.
Well, my beer's gone. Yours is almost
mine's
gone.
Almost gone.
I feel like that means it's time to end a podcast.
All right, we can do it, bud.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I hope I didn't break your unit.
I'm working on building a house this year, which is something that I know nothing about. And I love that. It's exciting. Everything is a new challenge, and there's lots of challenges that pop up. The other day, we were laying out rebar and getting ready to pour concrete for the foundation of the shop that's going to be next to the house. And one of the guys that was there that was helping, one of the construction crewmen, I looked over and he had a Stanley thermos sitting on the end of the trailer. I said, how do you like that thing? And he goes, oh, I love it. I've had it for a decade. It's like, if you find any environment where people are out there working hard with their hands outside, no matter the conditions, you're probably going to see a Stanley product there. It's something that just goes with that blue collar labor, because that's what this product is doing. It is out there working just as hard as you are. It's going to be there as long as you are. It's going to be there after you're done. It's something that I feel passionate about with every piece of gear that I take either into the woods or into the workplace. Like, it's got to be able to outwork me, and I work really hard myself. If you are also a hard worker, and I'm sure that you are, then you could probably appreciate the same type of gear. If you go to stanley1913.com and you use the discount code 6RANCH, that's the number 6 and the word ranch, you can get 25% off just about any of their products. And I encourage you to do that. They're a great supporter of this show and great supporter of this audience. Again, I love you guys, and I just want to pass this discount and the savings on to you. If you want something from Stanley, I encourage you to get it. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share the show with a friend. You can also rate the podcast and leave a review. Your support allows me to keep doing what I love, which is meeting incredible folks and sharing their stories with you. For more content and photos, follow the show on Instagram at 6Ranch Podcast or me at 6Ranch Outfitters. This episode was produced by Emily Brannigan, with original music written and performed by Justin Hay. Art for the 6Ranch Podcast was created by John Chatelain and digitized by Celia Christofferson. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode of the 6Ranch Podcast. I'll catch you next week.